Care enough, there's a dangerous misunderstanding in our culture that silence is a curse, that loneliness is something to escape. That being alone means you're unwanted or broken. But let me tell you something that'll set your spirit on fire. Solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. When God pulls you away from the crowd, from the noise, from relationships that drained you, care enough, from circles that used you, it's not because you're being rejected, it's because you're being refined. Sometimes God will shut every door around you not to leave you stranded, but to make sure you're not distracted. That quiet room you're sitting in, care enough, wondering why you don't hear from him, her, or them anymore. That's the training ground for your destiny. Look at any strong woman, any bold man of God, care enough, any world changer, you'll find a season of isolation behind their anointing. Before the spotlight ever hit their face, the wilderness touched their soul. Think about it like this: a seed doesn't sprout in the sun first. It grows in the dark. Before it becomes a mighty oak, it wrestles with the soil in secret. Nobody cheers for it. Nobody posts about it. Nobody even sees it. But deep down, it's breaking, shifting, growing. Care enough. And when that first green shoot breaks through the ground, people think it just happened. But they didn't see the struggle beneath the surface. That's what solitude does to a woman of God. It builds her in silence so she can stand in strength. Let's make this real. A single mother working 2 jobs, care enough, coming home an empty apartment, eating dinner in silence while her kids sleep. She may feel alone, but in that solitude, God is sharpening her resilience. Care enough, he's developing her patience, her strategy, her inner strength. That woman is not weak. She's in spiritual boot camp. And when her season shifts, care enough, when her table is prepared in the presence of her enemies, people will call her overnight success. But you and I know her nights weren't short. They were silent. Or take the woman who walked away from a toxic relationship. Everybody around her said, "Girl, just stay. At least you have someone." But she knew better. She knew peace was more precious than company. Now she's walking through her days alone. No good morning text, no hand to hold, but she's got clarity. She's got boundaries. And most of all, she's got God. In her solitude, care enough. She's learning what love really is, starting with loving herself. Even Jesus had to go into solitude before the miracles, before the ministry, before the cross. He went into the wilderness 40 days alone. No applause, no crowd, just him and the Father. That's where the power came from. That's where the revelation hit. If the Son of God had to be isolated before elevation, what makes us think we can skip that process? Care enough. Your solitude is your school. That's where you learn to God for yourself. That's where you cry without explanation, pray without scripts, and worship without an audience. That's where you shake off codependency and you stand on your own faith. Not your pastors, not your partners. Care enough. Not your parents, yours. You stop leaning on people who can't hold you and start leaning on the one who created you. Solitude teaches you how to survive without applause. It teaches you how to be enough for yourself. It builds the kind of confidence that doesn't collapse when people leave. Because when you've built something in silence, no noise can take it from you. Care enough. There's a woman right now waking up to an empty bed, wondering if she'll ever be chosen. What she doesn't realize is that she's already been chosen, not by a man, but by God. Chosen healing for purpose. Chosen for impact. Care enough. And God couldn't bring the right person into her life, and she became the right person for herself. That's solitude does. It strips you down. So when someone finally shows up, they meet the healed version of not the broken one begging for love. And let's not forget the young woman in college, watching everyone around her go out, party, date, and live loudly. She feels strange, like she's missing out. But what she doesn't know is that while they're chasing attention, she's chasing alignment. And when the noise stops, when the games end, care enough. She'll have something nobody else does: depth. Solitude gave her roots while others only chase branches. People don't clap for discipline, cheer for isolation. What's built in silence speaks louder than anything shouted in the spotlight. Don't resent the quiet. And care enough. Don't run from the empty season, because those are the exact moments God is building the version of you that hell will fear and heaven will back. Enough. There's something unshakable about a woman who wakes up one day and finally sees herself. Not through the eyes of the man who mishandled her. Enough, enough. Not through the lens of the friends who took her kindness for weakness, but through the mirror of her God-given identity. That's the moment everything changes. Care enough. That's when she stops being to be chosen and starts choosing herself. That's when settling is no longer an option, because now she knows who she is. She used to shrink just to keep the peace. She used to bend until she broke just to belong. She used to say, yes, when her soul was screaming, no. But when she saw her value, not her price, her value, she drew a line in the sand. Care enough. She refused to be a placeholder in someone else's life while she was holding the fullness of her own. Care enough. She realized that being alone in purpose was better than being accompanied in dysfunction. You see, care enough, the problem isn't that people don't love you. It's that sometimes you love yourself too little. But once a woman catches a glimpse of her worth, you can't unsee it. You can't tolerate what you used to excuse. You can't stay where you used to beg to remain. When she saw her value, care enough, she deleted the number, blocked the distraction, turned down the fake affection, and made room for something divine. Care enough, think about the young woman who used to chase after validation on social media. She would post just to get likes, dress a certain way just to feel noticed. Care enough, change her hair, her laugh, even her dreams to fit what the world told her was beautiful. But one day the filters fell off. One day, she stood in front of the mirror, makeup wiped off, phone turned off, and she met herself, the raw, flawed, authentic version of her. And in that silence, care enough, she heard God say, you are enough. Since that moment, she hasn't been the same. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't perform, she walks in purpose. There's another woman, maybe she's in her 40s. She spent a decade in a marriage where she's emotionally starved, but spiritually stuck. Everyone told her, at least you have a man, at least you have a family. But she knew deep down survival is not the same as living. She finally gathered the courage to walk away. People called her selfish, ungrateful, care enough. But what they didn't understand is that she wasn't leaving because she hated him. She was leaving because she had learned to love herself. She realized that peace is more precious than pretense. That's what value does. It teaches you to protect your spirit like your life depends on it, because it does. Then there's the girl who grew up hearing she was too much, too loud, too ambitious, too sensitive, so she dimmed her light to make others comfortable. But now she walks in rooms with her head held high, voice clear, and presence known. Not because she's arrogant, but because she's aware. She's aware that playing small doesn't serve anyone. She's aware that her calling is not up for negotiation. Once she saw her value, she stopped waiting for permission to be powerful. And don't forget the woman who dated potential for years. She stayed with someone who never saw her as a priority, only an option. She believed that if she just loved harder, he would rise to the occasion. The day she realized her value, she stopped waiting on a man to become what he should have already been. She stopped seeing potential and started demanding presence. That's when everything shifted. She no longer confused effort with consistency or attention with affection. She knew now love that has to be earned isn't love, it's labor. And she refused to carry a relationship on her back while losing herself in the process. There's something sacred about a woman who chooses peace over patterns, purpose over pressure, and solitude over settling. You can feel her presence before she speaks. You can sense her spirit before she enters the room. That's not ego, that's evolution. And it came at a cost. The tears she cried in silence, the prayers whispered in the middle of the night, the journals full of heartbreak turned healing. All of that led her here. She's not hard to love. She's hard to manipulate. She's not too picky. She's finally precise. She's not closed off. She's covered by grace, guarded by wisdom, and led by a standard she refuses to drop just to say she has someone, because she knows now she is someone. A daughter of the king, a masterpiece in motion, a force of divine design. And once she saw that, she refused to ever settle again. Care enough is a fire that no man can give, no relationship can spark, and no applause can sustain. Care enough. It's the kind of fire that is birthed in the solitude of walking alone with God. It doesn't burn on compliments. It doesn't flicker when people leave. It's a holy flame that grows in silence, in prayer, in surrender. And when a woman starts walking with God, Not just talking about him enough, but walking when she carries that fire deep in her soul. It's not showy, it's not loud, but it's powerful, unshakable, eternal. Enough. This kind of fire can't be lit by flattery. It's not the result of a man whispering sweet nothings. It comes when a woman stands in her living room at midnight, tears in her eyes, saying, God, I trust you even when I don't understand. It comes when she's rejected by the people she thought would never leave. And instead of falling apart, care enough, she falls to her knees. That's where the flame is born, in broken places offered to a faithful God. Care enough. There's a woman who walked away from everything familiar. She left the relationship that was draining her, left the job that dishonored her worth. I love and care enough. And now she's walking through unknown territory. She doesn't have a man holding her hand. She doesn't have people cheering her on. What she has is far greater. She has God. And every morning when she opens her eyes and breathes deeply into the silence, she can feel that fire stirring inside her, not because life is perfect, but because her faith is real. Care enough. The woman who walks alone with God learns how to encourage herself. She doesn't need someone else to remind her she's beautiful. She knows she's fearfully and wonderfully made. She doesn't wait for someone to pray for her. She lays hands on her own head and says, peace be still. That's the kind of power solitude gives when God is your companion. You stop begging for crumbs because you know who's preparing your table. Think about the single woman who goes to church alone every Sunday. Care enough, she walks in with no husband beside her, no partner holding her hand. But when the worship starts, her hands go up higher than anyone else's. And care enough, when the word is preached, tears stream down her face, not because she's broken, but because she's burning. That's the fire. Care enough. That's the intimacy that comes when God is not just your savior, but your everything. She doesn't just worship. She hosts his presence. And people wonder why her smile is unshakable. It's because she walks with the King of Kings. Then there's the college girl who's surrounded by pressure. Erin, everyone else is partying, hooking up, chasing validation. But she's choosing purity. She's choosing purpose. She's choosing the narrow path. And Kara, not because it's easy, because she's got a fire in her that says, I wasn't created to fit in. I was born to stand out. She sits in her doormat, Bible open, headphones in, worship blaring. And in that moment, she's not missing out. She's being filled up. Her fire isn't from friends. It's from the Father. Care enough. Or the businesswoman who walks into corporate meetings with grace and confidence. People see her strength, but don't know her secret. Care enough. Every morning before the boardroom, she's in her prayer room. Every strategy she executes was first birthed in intercession. Care enough. Her clarity isn't from coffee. It's from communion. Care enough. That's what walking with God does. It sharpens your spirit until you can see what others miss and move when others freeze. She doesn't need a man to affirm her. Heaven already did. This kind of fire makes you fearless. It makes you unshakable. Care enough. It makes you walk through seasons of lack with praise on your lips. It makes you lift your hands in the storm because you know the one who calms it. Care enough. The woman who walks with God doesn't need the security of a relationship to feel whole. She is whole because he is with her. She's not waiting on someone to complete her. She's walking in the fullness of who she was created to be. When you walk with God, you develop a spiritual stamina that no heartbreak can destroy. You learn to dance in the dark. You laugh in the face of delay. You declare promises when circumstances scream otherwise. And that fire, it's not just for you. It touches everyone you encounter. You become a walking testimony, a mobile altar, a burning bush that refuses to be consumed. People don't always understand the glow. They think you're just lucky. They think you're just strong. But what they don't see are the nights you prayed instead of panicked, the mornings you praised instead of pouted, the choices you made to keep God first when your flesh wanted company. That fire was forged in faithfulness. It was forged in warfare. It was forged in those holy conversations where it was just you and God, heart wide open, soul laid bare. She's not sitting around hoping to be rescued. She's not staring at her phone, waiting on a text that validates her worth. She's not measuring her days by who comes or who goes. She's not waiting, she's walking in purpose. And that alone changes everything. Because when a woman stops waiting and starts walking, she shifts from being passive to powerful, from uncertain to unshakable, from overlooked to unstoppable. This woman used to believe her life would begin when someone finally loved her right. She thought her purpose was attached to a partner, her calling tied to companionship. But one day she looked in the mirror and saw something deeper in her own reflection. She realized she had been waiting for people to confirm what God had already declared. So she got up, shook the dust off her dream, and started walking. No map, applause. Just faith. Purpose doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It thrives in motion. Picture the woman who wanted marriage so badly. She almost said yes to a man who didn't deserve her yes. He had charm but no character, attention but no intention. She almost lowered her standards just to check a box. But then purpose whispered louder than pressure. She walked away, not because she was bitter, because she was better. Better than begging for love. Better than being someone's option. And now she's not waiting on a ring. She's building a legacy. She's writing the book, launching the business, mentoring young girls, showing up for herself in ways she never thought she could. That's what walking in purpose looks like. Doing what you were born to do, not what the world told you to chase. There's a young woman in college surrounded by messages that say her value is in her beauty, her popularity, how fast she gets into a relationship. But she's chosen a different road. While others are partying and performing, she's preparing. While others are distracted, she's developing. She's not idle. She's intentional. She's not waiting on someone to pursue her. She's pursuing her calling with a fire that doesn't need validation. Her prayers are deeper than her desires. Plans are bigger than her fears. That's purpose in motion. That's vision in action. There's the single mom who thought her life had ended when her relationship did. For a while, she waited for healing, for help, for hope. But then she remembered her children weren't watching what she lost. They were watching how she rises. So she started walking again, working 2 jobs, going back to school, showing up for her kids with tired eyes but a determined spirit. She's not waiting for life to get easier. She's creating the life she was destined to live, not for applause, not for pity. Because purpose doesn't pause for pain. It pushes through it. Purpose rewrites the narrative. It tells the woman who was abandoned, you're not alone, you're chosen. It tells the woman who was overlooked, you're not invisible, you're invaluable. It tells the woman who was rejected, that wasn't the end, it was the redirection. When she walks in purpose, every step becomes a statement. I know who I am, and I know why I'm here. There's a woman who's never been in a serious relationship. She's seen others get engaged, married, post their love stories online. And for a while, she wondered if she was behind. But she's come to understand that she's not behind. She's being built. Others chase relationships. She's chasing impact. She leads in her church. She's a light in her workplace. She's the one others call when they're falling apart, not because she has it all together, but because she carries something real. That something is purpose. And it walks taller than fear and speaks louder than loneliness. People see her strength and think she never wanted love. They don't see the nights she cried, asking God why she still walks alone. What they don't understand is that the delay was divine. God wasn't withholding, He was preparing. He needed her to become the woman who wouldn't settle. The woman who wouldn't shrink. Woman who wouldn't stop walking when others stopped watching. And now she's not waiting on a man to make her feel worthy. She's already worthy. She's not waiting on a door to open. She's building the door. Purpose teaches her to move even when it's lonely, to serve even when it hurts, to lead even when no one claps. That's where the power is, not in what she has, but in who she's becoming. She doesn't just wake up. She rises. She doesn't just survive. She builds. Every step she takes isn't just for her. It's for the women watching her, the daughters coming behind her, the generations that will stand taller because she refused to wait. She's not chasing fairy tales. She's living by faith, not seeking approval, walking an assignment, not desperate for connection, rooted in conviction. And because she walks in purpose, she no longer asks, when will it be my turn? She says, God, whatever you're doing in this season, don't do it without me. She didn't need a man to validate her because God had already affirmed her. She didn't need a crowd to clap for her and care enough because heaven already stood in ovation when she stood in purpose. Let the world misunderstand her. She's not here for approval. She's here for assignment. Care enough. Let the whispers come. Let the questions rise. Let the doubters watch. Because the same people who overlooked her are about to witness what God does with a woman who walks boldly alone with him. She's not bitter. She's better. Care enough. She's not lonely. She's aligned, and she's not behind. She's been being built in silence. The same wilderness the world tried to use to define her became the very place God refined her. She didn't walk through the fire to come out smelling like smoke. She came out glowing with glory. Because when a woman chooses solitude over settling, enough, faith over fear, and calling over comfort, she becomes unstoppable. Some women wait for doors to open. This woman builds them. Some wait to be chosen, care enough. She knows she's called. Some wait for someone to see their value. She walks like she's already priceless because this woman doesn't ask for a seat at the table. She's preparing her own and inviting other queens to sit with her. She's not in competition. She's in completion. She's not chasing. She's creating. She's not hoping to be seen. She's too busy becoming. And don't get it twisted. She still wants love. She still desires companionship, but she refuses to trade her purpose for presence, her calling for company, care enough, her peace for popularity. If love comes, it will find her moving. It will find her praying. It will find her thriving, not waiting, and care enough, because when the right one comes, she won't have to shrink to fit. She'll rise and he'll rise with her. This is not just a speech. This is a declaration for every woman who thought she had to settle to be seen, care enough. For every woman who thought she had to quiet her voice to be accepted. For every woman who once questioned her worth because someone didn't recognize her value. Care enough. Let this be your awakening. Let this be the shift. Let this be the day you stop waiting and start walking. Because when purpose steps into the room, insecure enough, security has no place. You are not hard to love. You are hard to manipulate. You are not too much, just enough for the purpose you were born to fulfill. You are not empty. You are just in a season of preparation. And when God is done with this season, they won't even recognize you and care enough because the glow that's coming will not be makeup. It'll be mantle. The shine won't be spotlight. It'll be spirit-led. Care enough. Remember what Maya Angelou said. I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. That's the energy. That's the anointing. That's the mantle on your life. And care enough. When you walk, you carry every woman who thought she was enough but decided to rise anyway. When you pray, you break chains not just for you. Care enough, but for your lineage. When you move in your gift, you ignite fire in others who have been living in fear. Enough. You don't need to be chosen to be powerful. You already are. You don't need someone to fix you. God already finished you. Care enough. You don't need permission. Heaven already gave you the green light. So walk. Walk tall, boldly. Walk healed. Walk whole. Care enough, because you were never created to sit and wait. You were born to lead, to light up, to rise, and to reign. So to every woman listening, care enough. You are the storm they didn't see coming. You are the answered prayer someone else is waiting for. You are the proof that walking alone with God is never really being alone. And your steps, though unseen by man, are watched and ordered by the Almighty. Now go, not with fear, but with fire. Not with doubt, but with destiny. Because you're not waiting anymore. You're walking in it.